Donald Trump's corruption just never ends. You'll recall every president before Trump put their assets in a blind trust. George Herbert Walker Bush, I don't recall if it was before or after his presidency that he was president of the Carlyle Group, but during his presidency, all of his business interests, and there are many. I mean, the Bush family was a dynasty. They were worth a hell of a lot of money. And he put his assets in a blind trust. Ronald Reagan put his assets in a blind trust. Jimmy Carter, he had his only asset was his peanut farm down in Georgia, and he put it in a blind trust and hired a guy to run it, and the guy almost destroyed it. He lost. He had to sell a bunch of his property just to keep the farm, just so that they could serve as president. I mean, you could argue that George Washington didn't put his property in a blind trust, but he certainly, handed responsibility for it off to somebody else, for Mount Vernon. I mean, this is a long tradition. And there's this thing in the Constitution called the Emoluments Clause that says that no president may take any gift or thing of value from any foreign power, any foreign prince or principality. And yet that's exactly what Trump is doing. His son-in-law taking $2 billion from the Saudis. Trump himself, with his Live Golf Tour, taking millions from the Saudis. And now he's got this, billion-dollar project in Qatar, and he's heading over there in 2 weeks to visit Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. Normally you go to the Middle East, you visit Egypt, and the traditional power brokers, but these are the financial brokers. This is where the money is. And this is where Trump is building a new property. In Oman, the Trump family has partnered with the Dar Global Hotel and Golf Project that is being built on state-owned land. In Serbia, the Trump family is planning a new hotel in collaboration with Jared Kushner. I mean, this is wild stuff. How do you not call this just raw, naked, illegal corruption? I mean, you can't. There's no way to avoid it, except that the enforcement of the Constitution falls to either the Justice Department, which, with Pam Bondi is completely captured by Donald Trump, by a Trump loyalist, by a Trump brown-noser, or Congress, which right now is in the hands of Republicans, straight on through. So, will there ever be? I don't think so. I'm seeing press reports that Donald Trump's wealth has doubled since he became president in 100 days. Not much talk about it in the media. These are kind of stories that appear on page 18 or page 26, but serious stuff. Meanwhile, this is just wild. Betsy Fago is a longtime Republican donor. She has a mansion in Jupiter, Florida. And she was the person who hosted this big party where they passed around the stolen diary of Joe Biden's daughter, Ashley. And then that diary made its way to the media, and it was like this, look at this, how corrupt the Biden family is. And there, basically it was just, let's trash talk Joe's daughter because she's Joe's daughter. And, it really hurt the Biden family. And there was nothing illegal was uncovered or anything like that, nothing unethical, but just embarrassing. So this woman was responsible for this. She was in charge of this. And so her son, Paul Walzak, who is a healthcare executive, he was convicted of tax evasion for siphoning for basically stealing $10.9 million in payroll taxes from the paychecks of doctors and nurses who worked for him. So, I have this little business, which is this show, and, we pay Sean and Nate and Mateo and all our folks here, Jeremy. And when we pay them, we withhold the Social Security payments and, taxes. Well, he was withholding them and putting them in his pocket for his doctors and nurses, $10 million. And so he got sentenced to 18 months in prison for this, which is fairly normal sentence for that kind of thing. and he was given 90 days to turn himself in. This was just a couple of weeks ago. And only 12 of those days elapsed before his mom apparently reached out to Donald Trump. Hey, remember when I embarrassed Joe Biden for you? I mean, nobody knows exactly what happened, but Trump just pardoned this young man. I'm guessing he's in his 40s or 50s, but this business tycoon. He got he's the son of a wealthy socialite. He himself is a business tycoon. And there you go. If you're rich and you're friends with Trump, you don't go to jail. It's that simple, even though he'd been sentenced to prison. Now, this just happened last week. Are you seeing any reporting about it in the media? I mean, this story, where did this story come from? This was over at crooksandliars.com. I mean, not exactly the mainstream media. Jeff Tiedrich's news website, in fact. So, what's going to happen with this? Nothing. Trump is apparently selling pardons, or at least giving them out as gifts to his friends. This is what dictators do. The important point here is that all of these violations of the norms of democracy, not just American democracy, democracy anywhere in the world, where you have an independent judiciary, you have an independent prosecutorial branch, Congress or the Parliament provides oversight of the president or the prime minister, and the president or the prime minister are held to high moral and ethical standards. Violating all of those norms is what dictators do. It's how you know you live in a dictatorship, is that dear leader gets regular tongue baths from his staff telling him how wonderful he is in public. He has these public displays of military prowess. Trump now wants to have missiles and tanks be paraded down Constitution Avenue or Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. This next month. The dictators routinely lie to their people because nobody's willing to challenge them because, hey, it's a dictator. He can do things to you if you challenge him. And we're right on that knife's edge right now, where Trump is getting away with lies, he's getting away with corruption, he's getting away with violating the law, he's getting away with ignoring the Supreme Court's order that Kilmar Garcia has to be brought home. He's getting away with ignoring due process. All of these things that Trump is getting away with are just screaming, flares in the sky, signs that he views himself as a dictator. And as a dictator, if America has a dictator running the country, we don't have a democracy anymore. This is where we are. It's the reason why probably millions of people are in the streets right now, and more to come as the day goes on. We're just, 45 minutes away from noon here on the West Coast, so the protests will just be beginning when I get off the air here. But, we need to just acknowledge this, that as far as I can tell, we now live in a dictatorship. It's not a complete dictatorship. It's not Nazi Germany. It's not even Russia yet. We're moving very quickly in the Viktor Orban direction, try to shut down the press, suing the press. These are things dictators do. Trump is working from a playbook that is no secret. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote the playbook back in, the 1600s, 1500s? The Prince, famous book, his advice to the prince on how to control people. It's how to be a dictator. And that's what Trump is doing. And when are we going to acknowledge this? When are we going to look around and say, holy crap, this is what dictatorships look like? And we've got to do something about this. And when is the Republican Party going to stop enabling this?